Hi, and welcome to another coffee break with Formation. So, today we're going to talk about a behavioral interview hack. And it's really about trying to get a glimpse at the behind the scenes designing process of this behavioral interview. So, the first thing to understand is that at any medium or larger sized company, the behavioral interview is most likely a standardized process where interviewers are really looking for specific traits. And after your interview, they are most likely filling out some scorecard where they are rating you on how strong you were at those traits. And so, when you're answering a question about something on your resume or a follow-up question, you might just be answering the question as candidly as possible, but the interviewer is actually trying to match your answer against this list of traits and trying to get signal on how strong you are at those. So, for example, a company that might be going through a growth period and really focusing on speed wants engineers who can ship quickly. And that might be a conscious decision to choose speed over being, detail oriented. And you might say, like, detail oriented sounds like a good thing, but to a company that really prioritizes speed, detail orientedness might be framed as being bogged down by the details, right? And depending on what the company prioritizes, they will want one or the other. So a company that is prioritizing speed then might be really trying to dig into your story and trying to understand kind of the timeline that it took you to ship that project. So the trouble with this whole process is that you have no idea what the person is trying to get at. You're just trying to answer their question. So one way to try to get a sense of what companies are looking for is to actually talk to people at those companies. And I do think that's probably one of the best ways to do the best and most direct way to get a good answer to that question. But we're not going to get into that in this video. So if you don't have a direct connection into that company, another easy suggestion that everyone can do is simply researching this company's publicly stated mission, vision, and most importantly for this context, their values. And now I say this is a hack. And I want to point out that I think it goes without saying that this is not at all about misrepresenting yourself or trying to seem like something that you're not. In fact, one of the first benefits, I think, of researching a company's values is to see if they do align with you, right? And if they don't, then you can save the hassle and filter them out of your process early. But assuming that you are aligned, then you can keep that in mind when deciding which of your stories you want to tell in response to certain questions and which components of those stories you want to emphasize. So, if you know that a company is all about speed, then pick a project to talk about where you were able to deliver something on a very tight timeline, right? And if the company is all about the details, talk about a time where you really, worked on a project and got way super into the weeds, maybe so much so that you even missed a timeline or a deadline, but, got the product in such a better place. And again, these are all real stories and they should represent the real you. And if interviews were unlimited time, then you wouldn't have to be strategic about these. You would just tell all of these stories and they would get accurate signal on it. But because interviews are so limited in time, you can have an advantage by being strategic and picking the very limited amount of stories that fit in the interview time span based on the stories that you know or think will be more relevant to your interviewer. And the final thing I'll mention before we wrap up this video is that researching a company's value can also help you ask better questions at the end of the interview, or when you get a chance to ask questions to your interviewer. You can ask them about how the company actually lives its values and get a sense of how these values look like in practice and in the day-to-day life at this company. So that's it for today. Research your company's values so that you can be strategic about the stories that you tell during interviews. And I will see you guys at the next coffee break with Formation.